Baron Trump stood by the glass wall of his penthouse, gazing out over a city skyline that shimmered in the dying light. Beyond the towers and the neon signs, the horizon stretched into a hazy distance, like a future still unformed. He could see the shapes of cranes, half-finished skyscrapers, and the steady flow of cars along the interstates, reminding him of all that moved, changed, and grew in the world below. In the room behind him, everything was quiet except for the faint hum of air conditioning. The marble floors reflected the warm glow of dimmed lights, and a single desk stood near the center of the space, a testament to both simplicity and wealth. On that desk rested a file folder so thin it might have contained mere scraps of paper, yet its contents were worth billions. Tonight Barron was about to make a wager that could shift the course of an entire industry. He had already lived through enough to know that money alone didn't define success. He had watched people burn themselves on short-term ambitions, chasing profits at any cost. He had learned that power found in dollars and influence found in connections could be fleeting. Even so, something was stirring in him, a desire to prove that money, when wielded with integrity and vision, could reshape the world for the better. He wanted to show that a soft voice, combined with strategic brilliance, might transform industries rotted by greed and complacency. Many times he had heard the phrase, "Put your money where your mouth is," and for once he felt it was time to do just that. He moved from the window, crossing the wide expanse of polished floor, and opened the folder. Inside lay documents detailing a futuristic technology, a new approach to renewable energy distribution and advanced urban farming that sounded more like science fiction than business plan. People called it Arcadia Solutions, a bold startup led by a small team of engineers who believed they could revolutionize entire cities. Their concept was radical, a seamless network of self-sustaining microgrids, rooftop farms integrated into everyday structures, and an AI-driven system that balanced consumption in real time. Barron had spent months investigating the feasibility, traveling incognito to their modest headquarters where he saw brilliant minds coding day and night, testing prototypes with the fervor of dreamers determined to save the world. Most investors laughed them off. The initial price tag was massive, the break-even point years in the future. But Barron saw more than a long shot. He saw a testament to what humanity could achieve if given both vision and resources. He had run the numbers carefully. The data didn't lie. Arcadia Solutions had the potential to become one of the largest players in global infrastructure if it could survive the next phases of research and development. Yet no one had stepped forward with the level of funding required to push it from dream to reality. Large corporations scoffed at the idea that a small team could do more than churn out interesting prototypes. Established venture capitalists wanted results in months, not years. Arcadia couldn't offer that. They needed a patron who believed in more than immediate returns. And so the man with a quiet demeanor and an unshakable sense of direction decided to step in. A knock broke the silence. Barron turned to see Lyle, his longtime associate and confidant, step into the room. Lyle wore a simple suit and carried a digital tablet. "They're ready for you in the conference call," Lyle said softly. Barron nodded, glancing once more at the folder. This was the night he'd finalize his billion-dollar bet, as Lyle jokingly called it. In mere minutes, he would commit to funding Arcadia Solutions with a sum so large that even his staunchest critics would gasp. This was bigger than saving a niche technology company. It was about rewriting the rules of an entire market. It was about proving that returns didn't have to be the enemy of progress, that money could fund visions of a greener, smarter future. Lyle led him through the penthouse to a sleek conference room dominated by a large screen. No heavy mahogany tables or gold fixtures here. Barron kept the space minimalist, letting the city lights outside form the backdrop. Lyle tapped the tablet, connecting them to a multi-party video call. The main feed showed 5 faces arrayed in neat squares, the core team of Arcadia Solutions. They looked anxious and hopeful, their eyes flicking with that unique spark that dreamers possess. Their project manager, a woman in her 30s named Celia, looked especially tense. She had poured her life into Arcadia's research. Next to her sat Quinn, the systems architect, who wore a worn t-shirt as if he never left the lab long enough to dress up. The others were likewise an eclectic mix of engineers, coders, and financial leads, talented individuals who had spent years refining a vision that most of the corporate world viewed with ridicule. "Good evening," Barron said, his tone gentle but decisive. "I understand you've been waiting for me." A few of them laughed lightly, nerves showing through smiles. Celia was first to speak. "Mr. Trump, it's an honor to have you consider investing in us. We know our request is massive, but we truly believe what we're building can change how cities function." He nodded. "I've seen your prototypes. I've visited your labs. I know you are onto something real. Money is often an obstacle, but it can also be a catalyst. My intention is to be that catalyst for you." He paused, letting the significance of his words settle. "I won't lie. This is a massive risk from a conventional standpoint. But sometimes, the biggest leaps come from stepping away from the conventional." Celia's face lit up with gratitude. Quinn ran a hand through his messy hair, seeming almost too stunned to speak. "We've pitched our concept to so many VCs," Celia said in a voice trembling with relief. "And they all love the idea right up until they see the cost, the timeline, or the resource demands. Then they back out, or they ask us to slash features. But if we cut corners, this technology can't fulfill its potential. We need a backer with patience. Someone who believes in building an entire ecosystem, not just a flashy demo." Barron's calm eyes took in their expressions. "I understand. If I move forward with full investment, I will provide the capital you need for the next 3 to 5 years of research and initial deployment. In exchange, I want no shortcuts on your mission. Build the system as you intend, focusing on stability, accessibility, and long-term impact." The weight of that statement felt like a seismic shift in the conversation. The Arcadia team looked at one another, disbelief and joy mingling. "So you'll allow us to keep the hardware expansions we proposed? And the open-source protocols for local communities? The advanced battery modules that triple the cost?" Quinn asked, disbelief in his voice. Typically, even the friendliest investors demanded cost-cutting measures on advanced components. In an industry shaped by short-term thinking, hearing a major benefactor okay every piece of the original plan was like being told to dream bigger, not smaller. Barron nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "Yes. That's the reason for my involvement. I want to show that real progress, real leaps forward, require us to push boundaries, not retreat from them. We'll do more than chase a quick profit. If executed properly, Arcadia Solutions will eventually yield returns that dwarf short-term gains anyway. But we won't let impatience strangle innovation." The excitement among the team was palpable. Celia's eyes shone with the intensity of someone who had been given a miracle. Quinn leaned back in his chair, exhaling a breath he must have held for months. Another staff member murmured something about, "This changes everything." Even through the screen, Barron could sense their gratitude. Yet he also picked up on their collective fear. Could someone this supportive be for real? So many times, they had nearly closed deals with investors only to watch them recoil at the last minute. Sensing their uncertainty, Barron continued, "I am not here to micromanage your day-to-day. However, I do want transparency. That means regular updates. We'll keep lines of communication open. If you face a roadblock, we handle it together. You retain creative control, but I'll provide oversight in the broader sense. This arrangement stands or falls on trust." He let those words sink in. Celia nodded eagerly. "Absolutely, Mr. Trump. Full transparency, weekly progress reports. We understand how unusual it is to find an investor who sees the bigger picture. We won't let you down." They discussed logistics for another half hour, how capital injection would be structured, how expansions would roll out, and how Arcadia would coordinate with various local governments that had shown interest. At times, Lyle interjected, bringing up practical concerns, licensing, environmental compliance, hardware sourcing. The Arcadia team answered with details that showcased both their passion and meticulous planning. Step by step, Barron could see the entire tapestry of how this might unfold over the next 5 years. New microgrids popping up in select pilot cities, rooftops transformed into living farms, a shift in how resources flowed. If successful, it was more than just a business. It was the birth of a new kind of infrastructure. When the call ended, they said their goodbyes. Celia nearly broke into tears, Quinn practically bounced in his seat, and the rest of the team beamed with a joy that words couldn't fully convey. Barron ended the connection, letting the screen fade to black. Silence enveloped the penthouse again. Lyle turned to him. "I have to say, the sum we're committing is astronomical. Are you entirely sure about this, Barron?" His tone was respectful but tinged with the caution of someone who had seen deals go sour. $1 billion, maybe more when the expansions start. Even for you, that's a major chunk of capital locked up for years. Barron folded his arms, leaning against the sleek conference table. "I know it is. But consider what we stand to gain, not just financially. If Arcadia's vision becomes reality, we accelerate a transformation that's overdue. They're not just making widgets or chasing a fad. They're offering a blueprint for sustainable, intelligent urban living. Is it guaranteed? No. But few things worth doing come with guarantees." Lyle nodded slowly, as though allowing himself to trust this plan. "True enough. I've learned not to doubt your instincts. Still, the business world will react with shock. I can already hear the headlines, Barron's $1 billion bet, like you're throwing money into a fantasy. They'll critique every step. Expect backlash from entrenched players in the energy sector." Barron shrugged. "Let them critique. The entrenched often fear what might upend them. That fear won't stop me from doing what I believe is right." He paused, glancing back at the city skyline. "It's not just about profit. If we succeed, entire neighborhoods might thrive in ways they haven't. Maybe a decade from now, people will look back on this and see it as a turning point." Lyle offered a faint smile. "I guess we should brace for the press tomorrow. They'll want statements. We can finalize the press release about the Arcadia partnership, highlight the renewable energy angle, the advanced tech. People might see you in a new light, someone less about quiet vantage points and more about bold action." Barron inhaled deeply. "Let them see what they want. I'm not doing this for headlines. And if it goes wrong, I'll stand by that outcome too. Because the only real mistake would be never having tried." The following morning, the official announcement went live. Business news channels erupted in a flurry of commentary. "Barron Trump invests $1 billion in radical energy startup," read one headline. Analysts swapped theories on talk shows. Some praised him for a forward-thinking approach, others derided it as naive. Online, commentators argued over the viability of Arcadia's technology. Some took potshots, calling him a misguided idealist. Others lauded him as a visionary. Amid the swirling opinions, Barron remained steady. He gave a single interview, explaining that he saw the bet as an investment not just in a company, but in a future built on sustainability. "Too many times, we measure success by immediate returns. But real innovation takes time, patience, and the willingness to invest in something bigger than ourselves." His calm, measured tone contrasted sharply with the sensational coverage that tried to paint him as either a fool or a saint. In the ensuing weeks, Arcadia Solutions was catapulted from a niche effort to a tech darling. Their phone rang nonstop with new opportunities. City councils that had previously dismissed them as dreamers began requesting proposals. The existing power conglomerates took notice, some stepping up lobbying efforts to thwart Arcadia's progress, while others quietly reached out to see if partnerships might be possible. Celia and her team found themselves navigating a labyrinth of negotiations and logistical hurdles. True to his word, Barron let them handle the details, only stepping in when major decisions required his sign-off. He visited their headquarters shortly after, seeing for himself how the infusion of capital had transformed the place. Instead of a cramped, half-lit lab, they now had the resources to expand, bring on more experts, and prototype the advanced modules that were once mere theory. Walking through the facility, Barron could almost feel the hum of optimism in every corridor. People who once worked in half-darkness with substandard equipment now had well-lit spaces and the tools needed to refine every aspect of Arcadia's ambitious systems. Celia personally showed him the new microgrid control station, a sleek console that visualized energy flows in real time, balancing consumption among multiple nodes. We can integrate this with local rooftops, battery farms, and even farmland communities, she explained, her excitement evident in every syllable. When scaled up, it will unify entire regions, smoothing out supply and demand fluctuations. People won't even notice how seamless everything is. Barron nodded in appreciation. That's the dream, right? Energy so integrated that society no longer thinks about how it's generated or delivered. She beamed, relief and pride mixing in her expression. Exactly. And with your backing, we'll reach that dream more quickly than we ever hoped. Yet for all the positivity, not everyone welcomed the shift. Large energy corporations and old guard investors felt threatened. Quiet rumors circulated about strategies to discredit Arcadia, to label the technology as unproven or unsafe. PR campaigns emerged, cautioning cities against experimental microgrid concepts. Some tabloids ran scare stories claiming that a glitch in Arcadia's AI could plunge entire neighborhoods into darkness. None had any credible evidence, but the noise was enough to stir doubts among some local officials. Sitting in a newly furnished conference room at Arcadia's HQ, Barron met with Celia, Quinn, and a public relations specialist they'd recently hired. They faced a simple question: how to counter the negative press. Typically, a fight fire with fire approach might be recommended, loud, forceful rebuttals. But Barron had no interest in that approach. He had weathered storms of headlines his entire life and believed that authenticity and open data spoke louder than heated arguments. When Quinn asked, "Shouldn't we launch a strong ad campaign to show we're not incompetent? Maybe hire influencers to do flashy demos?" Barron responded with his characteristic calm. "I'd rather let facts speak. Keep everything transparent. Show people the test results, the prototypes in action, invite city leaders to see for themselves. Noise is fleeting, truth endures." They agreed on a plan. Arcadia would open its doors to journalists and local officials, offering tours and letting them observe real-time data. No glitzy marketing stunts or paid endorsements. They trusted that once people saw the technology working, they'd form their own conclusions. Slowly, the tide of skepticism began to wane. Reports emerged from those who visited, praising the practicality and efficiency of the new designs. Some recalled how staff engineers walked them through every line of code, every hardware connection, explaining the safety checks built into the system. Meanwhile, Barron quietly continued to pour resources into the project, ensuring they had the latitude to refine and adapt. He didn't demand monthly profit statements or push for partial commercial rollouts that might compromise long-term design. Instead, he repeated the same mantra: build it right, not just fast. This approach stunned many, particularly the old guard who expected an investor to bark orders about cost reductions. Instead, Barron told them to ensure quality. As news of this approach spread, it fueled the narrative that his billion-dollar bet was about more than a single windfall. He was trying to prove a point about how capitalism and social good might coexist. Behind the scenes, Barron faced pressure from certain allies who questioned the wisdom of tying up so much capital in such a risky enterprise. Some advisors warned him that Arcadia might become a sinkhole if adoption stagnated. He never wavered. In private, he confided to Lyle that risk was part of any great venture and that at some level, a bit of faith was needed. Sometimes, he noted, you have to gamble for something bigger than yourself. When you do it for the right reasons, even if you fail forward. After about a year, the first real breakthroughs arrived. In an outlying district of a mid-sized city, Arcadia deployed a scaled version of their microgrid and rooftop farm system. People in that district started to see lower utility costs, and local produce soared in availability. This pilot program, once believed too expensive to trial, now became a living showcase. Journalists documented how the new network weathered storms without major outages, how sensors rebalanced loads within seconds. Meanwhile, the integrated farm system reduced transportation time for fresh foods, supporting local markets. It was an undeniable success. And with success came excitement. City after city began sending inquiries. Some wanted to jump in wholeheartedly, others requested partial integration. The energy corporations that once mocked Arcadia found themselves negotiating, keen to avoid missing out on a technology that threatened to disrupt the entire field. Celia and Quinn worked tirelessly, traveling to town halls and municipal boards, presenting data, answering tough questions. Through it all, Barron stood in the background, ready to lend his support or to provide calm reassurance that yes, the funding would remain stable, no matter what. He had effectively changed the conversation from, "Is Arcadia viable?" to, "How soon can we adopt it?" Even more surprising was how quietly it happened. There were no personal attacks, no public screaming matches. Instead, it was a process shaped by transparency and an unspoken confidence that what they were building was too robust to be derailed by fearmongering. Barron's calm, almost understated style had trickled into the project itself, setting a tone of patience and thoughtful expansion. As Arcadia expanded, so did public curiosity about Barron's motives. Was he setting himself up to be the de facto gatekeeper of new energy? Was he angling to become richer than ever, once the systems scaled globally? He gave only one major interview on the topic, telling a respected journalist, "If everything goes according to plan, yes, I may gain financially in the long run. But the real profit is seeing communities transform. I believe that capital can be a tool for constructive, inclusive progress. Our biggest return will come not from short-term deals but from enabling a new ecosystem." Some critics claimed it was an act, a marketing ploy. Others, especially those who had watched him during the famed silent debate, saw consistency in his character, a quiet man who believed in letting real work speak for itself. Meanwhile, the billion-dollar bet continued to unfold, proving that a single investor, guided by values rather than vanity, could change the gravitational pull of an entire sector. Perhaps the most telling moment of the entire journey arrived at the second anniversary of the initial investment. Arcadia hosted an open house, inviting city officials, business leaders, and even critics to see a newly deployed facility that integrated solar arrays, advanced battery modules, and a water recycling system that fed hydroponic crops on rooftops. Barron attended in person, walking the corridors with Celia, Quinn, and the staff who once seemed uncertain they could keep the lights on. Reporters trailed them, snapping photos, capturing the array of monitors displaying real-time stats. The air smelled faintly of fresh herbs grown in stacked vertical racks. Light strips designed for optimum plant growth glowed softly, giving parts of the building a futuristic ambience. Quinn pointed out how AI algorithms balanced the entire microgrid, shifting power from one zone to another in milliseconds. A local official turned to Barron, eyes wide. "I never imagined we'd see something like this in my district," she confessed. "It's so clean, so efficient. And you funded all this just on a hunch?" Barron smiled, his quiet voice carrying an assurance that spoke volumes. "It wasn't just a hunch. It was faith in the people who believed in building something better. I provided the resources, but the vision has always been Arcadia's." He paused, glancing at the staff who had poured their lives into the project. "I'm just grateful I recognized their brilliance in time." At that moment, a camera flash went off, capturing Barron's expression. Soft gratitude and a hint of pride without vanity. The photo would later circulate widely, captioned, "Barron's quiet triumph," symbolizing how a calm approach could transform lofty ideas into tangible reality. While the press coverage was mostly positive, some corners of the old guard continued to gripe about potential overshadowing of established interests. Yet even that grumbling carried less weight now. Reality was overshadowing rumor. The pilot programs kept proving resilient, cost-effective in the longer run, and beneficial to communities. As the day wound down, Celia took Barron aside. Her eyes shimmered with tears that she blinked back quickly. "I don't know if words can express how much your belief in us changed everything," she admitted in a trembling voice. "We were weeks away from shutting down. We had poured our hearts into Arcadia, but money was always the barrier. Then you arrived, quietly writing a check that people said was insane. I'll never forget how you told us to build it the right way. That trust gave us the courage to keep pushing the boundaries." Barron gave a gentle nod. "The way you and your team handle each challenge confirms I made the right decision. Keep doing it your way. The world's noticing." She smiled, gratitude etched into her face. "We won't let you down." In that fleeting instant, Barron felt a sense of fulfillment deeper than any typical investment could offer. It reminded him why he had done it in the first place. Making money was one thing, sparking real, positive change was another. He flashed back to the flurry of arguments, the endless cautionary tales, the dire warnings from cynical financiers. All of them had told him it was madness to gamble $1 billion or more on an unproven concept. But now, standing in a facility that embodied the future, he realized that the real madness would have been letting fear prevent them from taking the leap at all. Outside, dusk settled over the newly integrated complex, with the lights of the city beginning to sparkle. The rooftop farms glowed under specialized LEDs, a silent testament to what collaboration and bold risk-taking could achieve. Barron lingered for a while, watching the skyline. He recalled the old saying about putting your money where your mouth is. It struck him that he had done exactly that, but also put his heart there, investing in a cause that aligned with his deeper values. Not the showy philanthropy of a press release, nor the cold calculation of a typical venture, but an authentic commitment to building a better path forward. As night fully claimed the sky, he departed Arcadia's facility with Lyle, who walked beside him to the waiting car. "I'm proud of what we're seeing," Lyle commented. "It feels like each new day, they conquer a new barrier." Barron glanced at the silhouette of the building behind them. "That's how real progress unfolds, step by step, fueled by people who believe in the impossible," he replied, his voice still laced with the calm certainty that had guided him from the start. They drove off into the city, headlights reflecting on the wet roads. Barron gazed out the window, letting the world blur past. Ads for consumer goods, neon signs for entertainment venues, and an endless stream of people hustling about. He thought about how easy it was for a cynic to say nothing ever changes, that too many forces protect the